on Friday is the Hurricanes versus the Brumbies, both returning from the bye. So we have no new injuries. Players that we might see return: Lenny Ikitau from his concussion, Corey Toole from his concussion. We can only assume. I don't think I've seen anything there. Darcy Swain and Blake Shoppy all from their concussions. That's a lot of concussions for the Brumbies. Hopefully they've all gone to plan and they're all back.
Yeah, you think so. And they've had their week off. I mean, Corey Toole was sent into another universe by Angus. Was it Angus Blythe? Yeah, but surely he's back. So, and you think he'd be back starting. But
he's had 2 weeks.
So this is a big one. Second place Brumbies up against the fourth place Canes. The Canes haven't actually beaten the Brumbies since March 2019, with the Brumbies winning 4 of the last 5. So when we can find some stats that favour the Aussie sides, we will throw them at you.
Mate, that was all me. I was sitting there going, I'm going to milk these, because how often do you hear something go in the other direction? And of course, 4 of the last 5. I didn't say 4 of the last 6 because that sounds less good. So I made sure I could get the best for us. But yeah, look, this is going to be an interesting one. The Canes, off the back of a top of the table clash, are now fighting to stay in the top 4 and hopefully have a home quarter final. So this is a big one for them, coming up against one of the top teams. If they get the win, it's going to usurp themselves back up into that top couple and really solidify where they are. But they could fall out of it as well. So it's going to be a big game for them. There's a few question marks for me, mate. This is all you. Do you give Ngunnawal another crack? Because Sevilla, mate, he didn't have a bad outing last time, and he's found a little bit of form. But surely it's time to get Ngunnawal back on.
This is where I find myself so torn, because I just still have so much love for the bus. But when you bring in a second Ngunnawal, and purely based off those 2 games that he played, God, he looked way more exciting. So, I mean, if I'm selecting, I'm running Ngunnawal out there. Sevilla on your bench, he can come in and cover centers. I think the real problem they have is they just have too many good players. We've always talked about their struggles with centers. They have too many centers, outside centers, and the likes of Balin Sullivan kind of falls onto the bench because he's the ultimate benchy. He can play wing, inside, outside center, whatever. But so that kind of makes it hard to put Julian Sevilla on the bench. But look, I think based off those 2 performances, Keeney Ngunnawal's got to be your starting right winger.
Yeah, on that as well, you were touching on Balin Sullivan. That brings us to that 13 jersey. Do you think, the last few matchups we've had Sullivan have a crack. We've had Peter Umunga Jensen now come in and have a crack. And I think Proctor had a little bit of a break through that period. Do we see Proctor come back in? Because despite the thought that we all said, we want one of those other 2 guys there, Proctor has been just setting it alight this year. That's
the difficulty, isn't it? Billy Proctor has been the best 13 for the Hurricanes this year. I think we've talked about this to death. For mine, it's very simple. Geordie Barrett, yes, he wants to be the All Blacks 12, but I'd play him at 15, and I'd play 2 of the other 3 amazing centers they have in the centers. I'd put Peter Umunga Jensen at 12, and then one of the other 2 guys at 13. But it's really going to be a toss of the dice. It's just, from all reports, they're all fit and raring to go. So if you're picking based on form this year, then it's Billy Proctor goes straight back into that 13 jersey. And it's a toss of it's who gets on the bench, PUJ or Balin Sullivan. And like we said, Sullivan just has more to offer, I guess. So you kind of feel that's how that's going to go. Onto the back row, onto your specialty, mate. How do you see that shaping up? Is it the obvious pairing we think here?
Look, for me, it's the obvious pairing. Cariffi's form is pushing him into that starting 7s jersey, and yes, he's been given the starting jersey for the last sort of couple of years, but we have voiced our want to see a few of the other guys on there and maybe to shift Sevilla into that jersey. But Cariffi is in career best form, so I'd be putting him in 7. Flanders showed us what he can do. Flanders in his last outing, and it was very, very good. He is a big body and he is a very good player. And obviously, Ardie Sevilla, one of the best players in the world, is the man to round it out. So I'd go Flanders, Cariffi, Sevilla. Yes, you've got some other game breaker players there, Yelsey being one of them, but I think they've got to earn it from the bench.
And yes, of course, if it was up to me, Peter Lakai would feature in there, but it's not. So, no, I agree with you. I think that's the 3. We'll see rolled out for this one, because I expect that they'll be rolling out their best team. They really want to. That will be a fixture they're targeting. Cam Roigard just continues to be almost the fantasy find of the not just the fantasy, sorry, probably the find of Super Rugby Pacific so far. I mean, we said last time they were talking about him he's in the AB's picture, and whatnot. So, and he
deserves to be, mate.
So we'll see him. We'll see Morgan, I guess, because Cameron's out for the rest of the season, and the rest of the team kind of picks itself, really. They seem to keep rotating Asafra Moore and Dane Coles, so we'll see how that goes. But Lomax, Numia seem to be your top-ranked props, and in at lock. I'm not sure. I feel like we haven't seen Isaiah Walker-Leaweri for a couple of weeks. I think he had a bit of a niggle, but they've got, obviously, him, Dom Bird, Blackwell's your stalwart in there, so I guess a combo of those three locks will be in there, so...
they've been using a bit of TK Howden and stuff there, I think, as well. But, yeah, look, I think Morgan, he just needs to get himself involved, taking the ball to the line a little bit more, has shown that he's good. But I think Cameron has directed them around a little bit better. So that partnership there is going to be an important thing for them in this matchup. Coming up against the Brumbies, mate.
Well, I was going to say, just before we get to the Brums, I agree. I was going to say what I think the Hurricanes will want to do is definitely a focus will be the battle of the breakdown, but I think it'll just be getting the ball to your wingers. You want your Rayasi and your Keeney Naholo up against, if it's Toole and Muirhead, I know who I'm backing in that. That's where I see the opportunities. So that's how I expect the Hurricanes to play. But you're right, let's get into the Brums. I mean, it's no secret, they're tight five, mate. They will be going hard at the rolling maul and at set piece. And you have to think they'll have the goods when it comes to the battle up front.
Yeah, I think you see the return of Frost and Neville back into the locks for them after having Swain and Thompson really fill that role, I think, in their last matchup. And then you throw in Slipper, Lonergan, Alatoa, and that is a formidable, pretty much Wallabies type five. And, I mean, we could see that type five pretty much run out for the Wallabies. So that's a cohesive, really, really strong unit.
And then you throw on top of that Bobby Valentini, Pete Samu. They're also in the Wallabies picture, and probably Rory Scott in there as your seven. So it's going to be an absolute great battle up front. But you have to think that the Brumbies when it comes to the set piece, the Brumbies are going to win that battle, and they're going to really look to push that. So it'll be a question of, can the Hurricanes defend the rolling maul? I don't think they can. So it'll be about, I guess, maintaining discipline and trying to minimize cards, so they can play as much of the game as possible with the 15 players on the field. And then just, I guess for them, it'll be about playing in the right half of the field, really, for the Hurricanes. But yeah, likewise for the Brumbies, it'll just be territory, set piece, apply lots of pressure at the breakdown, probably slow the game down.
Definitely, I think slow the game down, and they really need to step up in D, especially the back row against the likes of Sevilla and Karifi in his current form. Don't let them get quick ball. Roigard is dangerous around that breakdown. They've got some big ball runners. They've got some dangerous wingers. So this is where we see, potentially the likes of Rory Scott show his value in this squad as an open-side flanker, because he can do that hard graft work and slowing the ball down, and it's not as flashy sometimes as some things we see from the other open-side flankers like McWright, but he works very, very hard in the breakdown, and it's a big role for him this week.
Absolutely. I think the only question we alluded to was Corey Toole or Ben O'Donnell. Corey Toole obviously has been one of the form, he's been in absolute incredible form on that wing for the Brumbies. Has been one of the great finds of Super Rugby Pacific 23. But Ben O'Donnell, God, no slouch. He had his first start in the last game, bagged himself 3 tries. I
think it's as simple as, if it were me, Ben O'Donnell was too good to drop. He gets the starting jersey.
Are you going to agree with me, and then we drop Andy Muirhead and you put both Ben O'Donnell and Corey Toole on the wing?
No, mate, Muirhead's been good. But yeah, look, that's a tough one. But look, we can talk about hopefully another Aussie win all day.
On this one?
I was going to say, how do you see this one going?
Okay, I'll go first then. I was just looking, this game is in Wellington. Look, I see the Brums winning this one. I'm going to go the Aussie positivity. I feel like if I'd picked the Canes, you would have gone the Brums. So I'm going to say Brumbies, not by much. I'm going to say, I'm going to go for a low one for me. I'm going to go by 6.
Yeah, look, I'm pretty on par with you here. I think the Brumbies have got hopefully too much class for this one. I'm going to do the Brumbies to scrape in and probably win by 3. Interesting, the line currently is the Hurricanes minus 8.5. We're not a betting app. We don't advocate betting, but that's a good one to jump on.